Hello viewers, welcome to live session. Today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic.
Hello viewers, welcome to live session. Today we are going to talk
lung cancer. That is very, very important to be known. And we see the most of the crowd that these days that have been coming in. We do have a lot of lung cancer patients that are coming up, and understanding the risk of the lung cancer. I'm sure you all would be eager to know about the risk factors, the preventions, the the aware about what all steps you can take to detect the lung cancer. So I'm very excited to take this forward, this session. So we have a very senior Dr. S. Suresh, who's our senior medical oncologist, who has 14 years experience in medical oncology. And the specialty of his is he's not only a medical oncologist, but he's also a radiation specialist as well. So we welcome you on board, Dr. Suresh. It's such an honor to have you. Very good evening. Suresh sir, actually, when we see that there are more than 2 million people that have been detecting of lung cancer, and there are many people who would be eager to know as to what would be the causes of lung cancer, and how do we prevent that, and what are all the areas that they have to focus, and how do we take this forward?
Yeah, good evening, viewers. It's a warm welcome from VS Group of Hospitals. Today I'll be speaking and clearing your doubts on lung cancer. This being a November month, it's a lung cancer awareness month. And the ribbon for lung cancer awareness is white or pearl. So that's why our background is white or pearl. And today, as most of you will be asking why the cancer has come and why the lung cancer has come to me and what are the causes for this. We'll be speaking one after the other. As the session progresses, I'll be telling what are the reasons for that. One thing which we have to be very alarming is that lung cancer is going to be the largest percentage of cancers. It is the #1 cancer among all men and female included, even if its breast is in the female. But when it comes to both the sexes together, then lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer and the leading cause of death also in cancer. So,
Doctor, actually, the first question that comes in our mind is, what is lung cancer?
So, the breathing machine which we have in our body is the lungs. So the breathing, inhale, exhale, and whatever we do is through the lungs. And this lungs, when it is irritated by some of the genetic particles or smoking or some other causes, which we will be discussing later, can make a change in the normal function of the cells. And this can lead to the lung cancer. So lung cancer can be in the lung parenchyma or the covering. It's also called a pleural malignancy. So we'll be speaking on lung cancer, the lung parenchyma more today.
Wow, that was very informative. So, doctor, actually, what are the causes that would develop the lung cancer?
Yes. So most of the people will be asking, sir, I don't have any side effects. I don't have any vices. I don't smoke, I don't drink, but why should I get a cancer? So lung cancer is one thing which is most commonly associated with smoking. And this was the first casual association of a particular irritant causing cancer. So this all started in around 1930s when a British doctor wanted to know about is there any relationship between a particular irritant and a cancer, and then he took a postcard. That's for the days there was no internet, and then he asked all his friends in medical schools to post their smoking habits and lung cancer, because most of his friends died of lung cancer. So TB was one of the most common disease that day, but lung cancer was also there. So most of his friends responded by saying that I smoke more than 20 packs of cigarette per day. And some people said I'll smoke less than 20 packs per day. So he collected all these letters, and over a period of years, he was able to know that whoever had a high smoking history or people who were exposed to secondary smoking because the family members had smoking and they were along with them. So that's called passive smoking or secondary smoking. These are the people who had an high incidence of lung cancer. So this was the first casual relationship between a particular reason being a starting point for cancer. So other than this, we came to know what are the other causative factors for lung cancer, and then we can have environmental pollution. We have any coal mine workers or underground workers, and when they go in for underground working, then they will be exposed to radon gas. So this radon gas is also a possible irritant and a carcinogenic, which can result in lung cancer. And any family history now can also have an high risk factors for having a cancer. So other than this, we have something called COPD. That's any people may have an pulmonary disorder, and breathing difficulties can be there. So these are all an initiating factor for a lung cancer. So a patient or a person who has a cigarette smoking history of more than 20 packs per year, per year, and a family history, people who have any kind of malignancy, they should be more coming forth and do a screening program. And if they have an exposure and underground working pattern like coal miners or radon gas, or people working with and AC fridge where there is an exposure to chlorofluorocarbons. So these are the people who have an high risk of getting a lung cancer.
Oh, that was very informative, Doctor. So the notable risk factors, what would be the notable risk factors for lung cancer?
So as I said now, so smoking and exposure to ionizing radiations like radon, which we have in underground coal miners work, and environmental pollution, COPDs. These are the major limiting initiating causes for lung cancer.
Right. All right. So is there any screening options for lung cancer, Dr. Suresh?
Yes. So we all know that lung cancer screening has been extensively done for two major cancers like breast cancer mammogram and for cervix cancer pap smear. And screening means we don't have any disease, and it's a primordial prevention. Before we have any complaints, we have to do a screening and see whether we are at any risk for getting the cancer or not. So this is called screening. Now there are recommendations by NCCN and the Radiological Society, wherein a low dose CT, and they have a definite protocol depending on the body weight and the age, less than 50 or above 50. So according to this, we need to do a low dose CT. This is the screening protocol, and this can give an idea. So if the patient has got less than 50 years or less than 20 packs cigarettes of a year, they have a very low risk of getting a cancer. Otherwise, if the patient is more than 50 years, has a high smoking history, has a family history of cancer, or the family, he has got a risk factor, as I have been telling you, that underground work and environmental pollutions are there, then these are the patients who should go in for a low dose CT. Once you go for a low dose CT, then we will be screening these patients, and we have something called a solid, because the entire lung will be disappeared, or a part solid, that's called ground glass opacity, or a non-solid component. So these are the three things which you can see in low dose CT. And again, after seeing this, we need to know what is the size of the lesion. If it is less than 6 millimeters, 6 to 8 millimeters, 8 to 15 millimeters, and more than 15 millimeters. So these are the categories. And as I said, solid, partly solid, non-solid, size. So according to all these things, we have recommendations when to do the next subsequent screening CT. So if we do this, we'll be able to identify lung cancer at the earliest.
Oh, that was very helpful, doctor. And now then, since we know that, lung cancer, what is lung cancer and what the risks are, I'm sure all the viewers and all of us will be inquisitive in knowing what are the signs and symptoms of that.
Mostly patients comes with the cough, and after a cough, it's an protracted cough. So he has a cough for more than 2 weeks or 3 weeks, because a normal flu or whatever common cold which we have, we say it lasts for a week or less than 10 days. So something which lasts more than 10 days or 14 days, we need to have an examination done. The other complications can be change in voice. There can be a blood in the sputum. There can be foul smelling sputum. There can be a breathing difficulty. There can be pain in the chest. There can be pain in the vertebra or the ribs when it has spread to the bones. And there can be also a weight loss and difficulty in moving around. Or if it has, this is a spread to other parts like liver and brain, then you can also have seizures and jaundice. So these are all an advanced features. So if a patient or a person has got a non-stop cough for more than 2 weeks, any blood in the sputum, any change in voice, any loss of weight, and any bony pain, these are the initial symptoms, initial stages it might be. So these are the patients who need to do an investigations to know what is happening in their lungs.
Good, that was very helpful. We have a viewer who has a question. Mr. Arun says he's been asking, like, is there any way to prevent a lung cancer?
Yes, stop smoking and try to prevent yourself from getting near to the people who smoke. So that's passive smoking or second-hand smoking.
Right.
And try to avoid or protect yourself from when you go in for an underground working. So the coal workers or the diamond workers or the other people who go in for mining workers. So they also have to have a very good precautions, and then they have to have a annual screening to know whether they have any risk factors. As I said, a low dose CT will see them that they don't have a lung cancer developing. And the prevention is that you need to have a good break from that and take healthy foods, have a healthy lifestyle, get exposed more to sun, have a good exercise.
Yeah, that's very, very important. So now, since we knew about what cancer is and the notifiable risk and all these things, then I'm sure all of us would have heard about these stages of cancer. So what are the stages of cancer?
Yes. So usually all solid cancers are divided into 4 stages. Stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. The idea behind staging is that you have to have a uniform staging across the world. So one person cannot say I'm in stage 1 and another person in the other part of the world cannot say that's a stage 2. So to have a uniform staging and a uniform practice of treatment, that's where we put in the staging. So stage 1 is limited to a single part of lung, and mostly it is in the peripheral part of the lung. Stage 2 comes when it is nearer to the central part of the lung, that's along the main windpipe. So third stage is when there is an involvement of lung nodules and involvement of lymph nodes and involvement of main trachea. That's when there is a bifurcation of the windpipe. So if these parts are involved, then we say it's a stage 3. Stage 4 is if there is an involvement of other parts of the lung, if there is an involvement of the pleura and causing a pleural effusion, and if the disease has spread beyond lungs and pleura to bones, to liver, to adrenals, to brain. So this is called stage 4. So the idea behind all this staging is what type of treatment you are going to get. It doesn't mean that if it's going to your stage 4, you are doomed or not. Though it says that the prognosis is depending on the stage, the treatment is the main factor why we are doing a staging. If it's going to be stage 1 and 2, we have to think about a surgery upfront and if needed, chemotherapy and radiotherapy. If it's going to be stage 3, then one modality of treatment may not be enough. So either and combinations of chemotherapy, radiotherapy, or a surgery again, or if you do a surgery upfront, you might need chemotherapy or radiation added together. And if it's going to be stage 4, then it's going to be a palliative intent, and you need to be giving chemotherapy after one line after another until the patient is able to tolerate. And if needed, we have to give a radiation to the involved bones or brain if there is. So the staging is like this: stage 1 to 4. It all says what type of treatment you will be getting. So don't worry about staging, because most of the patients who come to us, when we say you are in the 3rd stage or 4th stage, they always ask me, sir,
right,
I have been diagnosed only now, which means I'm in stage 1. But as I said, it is all depending upon the imaging and the spread of the disease, and that is going to help you in management of the treatment.
Wow, that's nice. So when we see the treatment options available now, after knowing all this, there's one viewer who would like to know, what is immunotherapy? This is a common question most of them ask us.
Yes. So as I have been saying, along these stages, surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, as I said. So immunotherapy is part of chemotherapy. When a cancer is developing in our body, our immunity, so the natural immunity is the best defense mechanism that God has given us. Only if this natural defense is breached, the cancer is developing in our body. Once the cancer develops, what happens is this natural immunity is kept at bay. It is suppressed. So the chemotherapy, what we give is always aimed at multiplying cells. So cancer is rapidly multiplying, and we are giving a chemotherapy which kills the rapidly multiplying cells, and also the normal multiplying cells, that is the blood, nails, skin, and GI tract, which are rapidly developing day in and day out. So that's when we get complications. So in order to avoid these complications and also to boost our immunity, we have this new molecules called immunotherapy. So when we give immunotherapy, it will boost our immune mechanisms again. So the immune mechanism which has been suppressed till now by the cancer cells will be able to come out of that suppression and mount an attack over the cancer cells with the help of these medicines. So this is what is called as immunotherapy.
Okay. Thank you so much. This information was very helpful, Doctor. So, Dr. Suresh, we have one more question from Mr. Arun, and he says it's a very important question because when it comes to cancer, I'm sure there's a cost involved in it. So, how costly is lung cancer, and what is the importance of health insurance in this? What's your opinion on that?
Yes. So, not only lung cancer, and for any kind of cancer or any kind of non-infectious disease that like cancer or infectious disease or lifestyle modification disease like diabetes or heart attack or BP,
right,
you need to take an insurance. So insurance is not a minimal amount. You need to have a large amount because health is becoming costlier nowadays. So you can always take, and there are multiple insurance options, as I believe. So you can have it for a family, up to a certain extent, and then you can also have a top-up insurance. So this is how you can do. So though we say that it's for a year you need to pay an amount which may not be returnable, but when you land up in a hospital with a disease, this insurance is going to bail you out.
Completely.
So everyone should take an insurance as much as possible, and it's nowadays so many companies are there who do a decent response within a period of time and give as promised by them on the paper. They do a very good. Coming to the cost factor, yes, the treatment is very, very costly, and surgery can run into lakhs, whereas the chemotherapy and radiotherapy, which has been there for past 60, 70 years, has come down on price, and which might be affordable for most of the middle class families. But the previous question was immunotherapy and targeted therapy, which runs into lakhs again, and which if you are going to give it for a year or more, because why should I say year or more? Because we have improved on our treatment and patients are living more than a year or now with even after finding cancer in stage 4, and they get to benefit with all the treatments. That runs into more lakhs. Though there are patient assistance program, it's always better to get an insurance.
Correct. So that was very helpful. So now prevention is better than cure. This is something we all believe in. So is there a way to prevent lung cancer, Dr. Suresh?
Yeah. So this was the question which we had already dealt with. So prevention is, yes, have a healthy lifestyle, avoid smoking. It's not late that if you are smoking, still you can live, but always remember, even a smoke you had done now will remain in your lung for the next 30 years. But doesn't mean that I'm going to smoke and then I'm going to enjoy the life. No. You can stop now, whereby your risk of getting the cancer will be coming down multiple times instead of smoking daily. And have a healthy lifestyle, have a good exercise, have a healthy foods, and take more antioxidants. That should help you better.
So what would be your take-home message to our viewers right now?
And don't worry about lung cancer, though lung cancer, the response rates in the early stages are very good. We speak about 5 years survival in stage 1 and 2. It drastically comes down to 2 years and 1 year in stage 3 and 4. The best way is to prevent the disease. So you have a healthy habits. The second way is to have a regular screening. You do an low dose CT as early as 50 years and above. And if you have a family history of cancer and you have a personal history of smoking, you can also start your screening before 50 years. And if you are on smoking or on any the risk factors which I had mentioned, try to avoid that, come back to a normal healthy lifestyle, and continue with a regular screening program. Consult your family doctor and follow his advice, and continue to have a good exercise. So this is what I will be telling. And lung cancer, don't worry, if found out early, can be treated very good.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Suresh, for your valuable time. That was so helpful that our viewers would get educated about lung cancer. I know. Thank you so much again. Well, viewers, that was an amazing, mind-blowing session that we had with Dr. Suresh. So as you see, 50% of our Indians or the population are non-smokers who are being detected as lung cancer. Isn't that surprising? So all these causes, as Dr. Suresh said, is air pollution, indoor and outdoor, and people working in coal mine and biomass burning. All this has been linked for lung cancer, and it's increased the risk of lung cancer per se. So it's always, better to get screened, as Sir said, as health checkups will be very helpful. Early detection is very, very important. And the healthy food habits, and to quit smoking. That is the best advice, which, Sir has indirectly mentioned as well. So that is going to be very important for us. So I'm sure this would have helped a lot of viewers right now. So I'm sure this would have been helpful for all of you. So get screened regularly and stay healthy. All right. So next session is going to be about the gallbladder stone and the treatment of that, where we're going to be having our hepatobiliary and GI surgeon, Dr. J. Saravanan, who will be joining us next Thursday. That's on 28th November between 8 to 8:30 p.m. So I have my colleague, Mr. Arun, who will be taking the session. So would look forward to see you all in live. Thank you so much for your time, and stay healthy and stay fit.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.